The hell are you doing?
We got a new location.
Where are you? Are you in your bedroom?
I'm in Ibiza, actually.
Ibiza?
I'm in Ibiza. I'm on vacay, and I'm not doing okay, actually.
You're in Spain and you had chicken tenders for dinner?
I had the worst dinner to date. It was the saddest dinner I've ever have consumed. It was moist French fries, a piece of bread, and an apple. That's not 5 stars. That's not all
Not.
inclusive.
Certainly not.
1, 2, 3, 4.
These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that Michael Bay shit. They want the shit that pops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners.
Yum, yum.
Oscar Wieners.
Welcome to Oscar Wieners,
Welcome.
the only show on the internet where Hollywood's biggest night calls me Mr. Tibbs.
You're goddamn right it does.
I'm Arbuckle.
Oh, and I'm good pull. Gosh, I guess I'm just a 98-degree guy kind of guy.
Fine.
We'll fix it in post for sure.
How?
We'll
With
just
what?
edit. I'll edit myself out and put in somebody charming and cool. Like, I don't know, fucking Joel McHale. How about that?
That's such a weird fall.
We're gonna put Joel McHale in post.
This episode's actually this is gonna be like it's gonna be a clip show of just season 3 of Community.
Honestly, just run it
Um,
for the best.
no, I'm Michael. He's Ander.
Hello.
And this is a show where every week we piss. Every week we piss.
No, run it back.
Every week we pick a Best Picture winner at random, and we try to figure out if it's Best Picture worthy. And this week we're talking about the 1968 Best Picture winner, a Norman Jewison joint, R.I.P. He passed away recently. In the Heat of the Night, starring Sidney Poitier. Is it Poitier or Poitier? Like, is it sort of like a pois?
Like a Porsche. Like a port. I'm thinking like a portier. Yeah, portier.
Portier.
Portier. Yeah. I think
Portier.
a sharp T. A sharp T. Portier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sidney Poitier.
Nice.
I get it. Nice. All right. As a guy who's just on vacation. I'm gonna bury the lead. He's just a guy who's on vacation. Well, not on vacation. Well, he's visiting his mom. He is on vacation.
Yeah.
He's traveling through the South. He's from Philadelphia. He's just a regular guy. Uh-oh.
Whoopsie.
He ends up in, where does this fucking, Kentucky? Where are they?
Mississippi.
Mississippi. He ends up in Sparta, Mississippi. He's just waiting in the train station late at night by himself. He's just trying to catch a train home. And, uh-oh, there's a murder nearby in Sparta.
Oh, no.
And uh-oh, the local police are like, hey, it's the 60s and we're white and racist.
No.
Must have been that guy. Must have been this like black stranger in this fucking train station. Plus he has a wad of cash. There's no reason he would have that. Uh-oh. Turns out Mr. Tibbs is a fucking Philadelphia police detective. And not only is he a Philadelphia police detective, but he's like fucking Sherlock Holmes. He's like the smartest man you've ever met.
Yeah, he's a homicide expert.
Yeah.
And I cannot stress enough how hard this man was just chilling. Like, he was so, like, the most.
He was like reading a
your own
book.
business. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't even know if he was. I think he was maybe just sitting there.
Yeah. Because he had like he he has like a 3 hour wait until the next train comes or something. Like he
Yeah.
has to kind of hunker down for a while
Yeah. So
and
they so
chill.
yes, so he was wrongfully booked, and he is just straight faced the entire time, doesn't say a word. He's just like,
It's so good
okay.
because he's like when these fuckers find out who I he's like I'm not gonna say a word when they find out who I am. The amount of egg on their face is gonna feel incredible.
And it is palpable to be
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's really good.
Is he so his he was visiting his mom. Is he from Sparta, Mississippi?
I don't I don't ever get this. Well,
Because I
I
also
don't.
don't get the sense that he was, but they don't
No,
specify.
I don't think he was from Sparta. I don't even get the sense. Well, I guess yeah, he's visiting his mom. So where was he? I don't know if they ever say where he if he was if she he was visiting her somewhere in Mississippi.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I didn't really think about that.
Because
It's good. It's a good question though.
it does change the dynamic a little bit if that's a place where he grew up, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
he's familiar with the landscape.
yeah,
But I guess we'll just never know. Well, there is a book, right? Read the book.
yeah. It's based on a book by what's his pants? Some guy named John Ball.
Idiot.
um, have you ever seen this movie before?
Never in my life.
Yeah, neither have I.
So you-
What was your experience watching it? Because let me say, this movie fucking starts. This movie starts. It has a title song where it's just Ray Charles singing in the heat of the night, and you're like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, they got Quincy Jones and Ray Charles to team up in some sort
And
of
Ray Charles.
yeah, a two-man Avengers supergroup to be sure.
Yeah,
And it does pay off.
yeah. The score is so good in this movie.
Yeah, excellent
Yeah.
score. Um, yes, what was your question, Your Honor?
Um, what was your experience watching this
Oh,
movie?
okay. Um, yeah, I was it hit me like a ton of bricks how familiar I actually was. When I say familiar, not that familiar. I just had known the iconic line, "They call me Mr. Tibbs."
Yeah, yeah,
So it was kind of an aha moment when I realized that, oh, this is the movie where that line is from. I'm sure it's one of the, I don't know, American Film Institute's top 100 lines or something, right
yeah.
next
It's up there
to
with
"They Call Me
leave me
McLovin."
alone."
What's
Yeah.
that?
It's up there with "I Want to Be Alone" from the Grand Hotel. Remember when we watched that movie? You remember, right?
Is that actually, or are you just
Yeah,
making a
that's like a
goof?
very that's like a famous line that gets on the list somehow.
That was not memorable in the slightest. So I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, that entire movie was rather forgettable, frankly.
What?
Um, but this movie's good. I like this movie.
It
Um,
kicks ass.
yeah, it's got it. Give me a second.
It's somebody breaking into your apartment.
Yeah. Someone breaking my apartment, but it's fine. It's totally fine. Going to steal my oven probably and my uncooked chicken tenders. Tibbs is probably one of the coolest guys I've ever seen. He's just such a cool
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
He immediately jumps in to solve this murder case, even though it's really not his responsibility. He's treated poorly from the moment he's
Yeah.
interacted with the police force there. They're a bunch of cowboys. They suck. I mean, they're pretty much all racist.
Yeah.
And he is not treated respectfully, even though he deserves all the respect that he's earned over the course of his career. He decides to help them anyway because he knows that he obviously could because he's good at his job.
Hibbs's chief in Philadelphia gets on the phone with him. Is like, hey, you should actually like. I know you're on vacation. I know you're probably using vacation time and stuff. You should stay and solve this murder though, which I don't really get, but I'm like, whatever. It's the setup for the movie and it's fine.
Yeah, also you're right. It's not worth digging into, but if we did, it doesn't make sense. Like, is that
Yeah.
I don't think that's something that could even happen. Like, I don't think you can just
No,
be a
like,
police officer in another state. I think you have to have
yeah.
some sort of approval or license or
He's
something.
working pro bono for this random police.
Yeah.
I like the shift when he finds out he's a detective and he's like, how much do they pay you in Philadelphia to be a police officer? And he says the amount, and then Gillespie like almost like he like devolves into self-pity and plays the victim as like, wow, you get paid all that money to be a police officer or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like now he like becomes worse. Like his racism like becomes less subtle, and he's like, "Fuck you." Um,
Yeah,
and
well,
it's
because
just like it's
now,
just that dynamic's really interesting.
yeah, he's projecting. He's like, oh, look at you, Mister Big as if
Yeah,
Tibbs was trying to brag about
he was
his
no, he
wage, but
wasn't.
literally he was asked. The guy was like,
Yeah,
"How much do you make affiliate?" He said, "I make 162.39 a week." Which, by the way, I crunched the numbers for real this time. $7,000 a week.
$1,000 a week.
No, 7,000.
That's that's not true.
It's not true. If I had to guess, I did no research, but if I had to guess, I'd probably say it's like 1,200 a week in today's
Yeah,
money.
like almost 60 years later.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think that dynamic's really interesting. And then there's just a lot of back and forth of like Tibbs sort of like seeing the evidence, being a part of the case. This is the first half of the movie, being part of
Yeah.
the case. And like basically like every other scene, Gillespie is like, you know what, get out of here. Or Tibbs is like, you know what, I'm leaving. If you guys don't want my help and like are just gonna like
Yeah.
do shitty police work and like treat me horribly, I'm gonna leave. And they're like, no, no, come on.
That dynamic lasts throughout the entire thing, though. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
every other scene. Gillespie is either totally in his corner and is like, "Hey, this guy's good. Get him what he needs. We're gonna try and solve this murder," or he's like, "Why don't you go back to Philadelphia and I just book your train and blah 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 blah." It's like, okay, well, I
Also,
guess that
not a coincidence. You're kind of doing a Trump impression. I don't think subconsciously, not a
I guess
coincidence.
I guess so. But like it's just so that back and forth is, I guess, what leads to the tension in the movie. But
Yeah,
I think it does become a little bit tiresome. Frankly, I'm like, okay, is
it
he on
does
his
a
side
little
or
bit. Yeah,
not? Yeah, are they
yeah,
part of? I really just more than anything wanted to see them become friends. My stupid positive worldview. I just want to see them be pals and solve a cool case.
yeah. Well, we could talk about the ending because we'll get to the ending in a little bit, but like just to put a pin in that point of like where the movie kind of lands.
Yeah.
Because this also feels like a movie that's like almost the first of its kind. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen every fucking movie ever made, but it feels like this movie is almost the framework by that like Green Book uses.
Good side, but well, one day we'll actually watch Green Book and we can
Yeah,
shit
I
on
haven't
it
seen Green
in
Book, but I'm just
earnest.
imagining that it's a lot of like, we're so different, and then by the end they're like, we're not so different, and it's like,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the formula.
I don't
I mean,
think In the Heat of the Night really does that, um,
well, what's
for the most
different?
part.
I think what's different about in the Heat of the Night, what makes it more impactful is that it was released 3 years after the Civil Rights Act was passed.
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so racial tensions in America are this is a wild time. It's a wild
Yeah.
time to be around, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so to release a movie that deals so centrally in terms of segregation and race relations, it's definitely a bold move.
So Sidney Poitier is so good in this movie.
Portier,
Poitier. It's
Pochard.
depending on who he's talking to, he like changes his approach.
Yeah,
He uses not with like, is it Gillespie or Gillespie?
I think it's a hard G, Gillespie or
Gillespie. Gillespie.
Gillespie. I'm getting
Gillespie.
I'm getting a Gillespie. This is my note says Gillespie.
There's no B, but I think Gillespie is
That's on me. I fucked up at some point. Let's just say Gillespie because
Gillespie. Gillespie.
that's easier to say. Gillespie.
Yeah. Gillespie. Gillespie.
Oh, already botched it.
Who fucking
Whatever.
cares?
Let's call him.
He's
Let's call
racist.
him.
I don't care.
Let's call him Chief G.
Virgil Tibbs's interactions with Chief G are obviously like always like fraught because Chief G is not subtle about his racism. And also like their relationship starts with him basically accusing Tibbs of like something he didn't do. But Tibbs interacting with like other white characters in the movie, he knows they see him as like inferior.
Yeah.
So he almost like plays up like, oh, I'm just like kind of like I'm just like a regular guy. I'm just like, maybe I'm a little like dopey or whatever. I'm just like asking. I'm just trying to be friendly. But then
Yeah.
like then he like gets to he like manipulates them in order to get like the information he's looking for.
He's very level-headed. He's tested constantly throughout the movie with just things that would immediately make anybody irate, but like he keeps a cool head. Um, as much as he tries to play into other people's, not play into their stereotypes, use their preconceived notions against them, I guess
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
Um, he also doesn't trust them. Like there are little details where they find out he's legit and they give him his wallet back and he's looking through his wallet to make sure they didn't take anything.
Totally. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like it's
like
all there.
yeah,
Chief G. It's like, all
yeah.
right.
Like he still has that tough exterior where he lets everyone else know and also the audience know, like, listen, I'm keeping a level head, but I don't trust any of these motherfuckers because I
Yeah.
have no reason to. And he doesn't because they're
Yeah.
shady bunch of pricks.
So the movie, like, once like him actually being on the case for real starts,
Mhm.
the movie sort of, I think I wrote in my notes, like the movie kind of becomes like a really good episode of Law and Order. Like it's just sort of him like interviewing people, like finding clues, trying to figure stuff out. It's not like the best detective stuff I've ever seen, but it is like compelling and like I just want to see Tibbs like crack this shit wide open or whatever.
So I think that's actually where it loses me a little bit. I think as a depiction of the racial tensions that were going on in America at the time, it does a really good job. I think as a crime mystery thriller, it's a little bit tepid actually. Um,
Yeah.
it's because you're right. It is structured a bit like, obviously this is before the time of Law and Order, but it's structured a bit like a police procedural drama.
But Dick
Um,
Wolf, Dick Wolf was cooking. He was cooking some
yeah,
ideas up.
Dick was cooking shit up for sure. Um, and that's not to say that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it feels like a formula I've seen a lot, and that's not the fault of the movie. It's just, I guess, it's the fault of Dick Wolf or something.
But honestly, yeah.
That
Um,
his
yeah.
show is that fucking popular.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think there were really any wow moments in this movie.
Like in terms of the mystery.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that's
oh wow, I
what's
didn't what a revelation.
right. Like no
Yeah.
real rug pull or twist. And that's the kind of thing that I look for in a movie like this. And it's not totally a movie like this. It's a bit of a hybrid. But I think that's what kind of separates it from something like a Silence of the Lambs, where that movie had me hooked at every single turn.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting about like some of the developments in the second half of the movie when Tibbs is on the case is like it actually shows like a flaw in his character because he's going for this guy Endicott who's like this big he's like basically like kind of runs the town. He's like not the mayor, but he's just like the richest guy in town and
He is like
he has his
such a
finger in
bad
like
guy.
all the industry. Yeah, he's like the biggest bad guy.
Yeah.
Um he even has like this like black guy who's like serving. He's like his this black guy who's like his butler, which like obviously like Tibbs is probably like, oh fucking here we go.
He owns a cotton plant. Like they
Right,
as soon as they go to
exactly,
his
totally.
as soon as they go to his
Forgot
property,
about
his
that. Yeah,
farm, they have, 100 black people picking cotton and
yeah,
obviously Tibbs is gonna naturally have some issues with this person.
yeah. So like he's like kind of concocting this like elaborate conspiracy where Endicott is like the center of it, because like the guy who was murdered was like this like industrialist who was overseeing the building of like a factory that was going to give a lot of people in town jobs.
Right.
Um, and I don't exactly remember, or if it's even like explicitly said why Tibbs thinks that Endicott wouldn't want that factory around. I guess like it might take like black workers away from like his cotton fields. They would go to the factories, maybe that's like the subtext or like the implication. I don't really know.
Well, it's funny because um what is his name? Colbert. Colbert, who is the man who was killed in this movie,
Right.
where the murder case is about him. Uh, Colbert and Endicott are depicted as business rivals. I don't really know if their businesses are the same. I think Colbert, it struck
Yeah.
me that he was more maybe a real estate, because he kept talking about the lot that it was the factory supposed to be built on, but maybe he's in manufacturing or some kind of industry. I'm not really sure. but they're
Yeah.
rivals, I guess, at just being rich. Like maybe it's like Musk and Bezos are rivals. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's never really clear. Like I
Yeah.
remember I was watching, I was like, wait, so I'm like, Tibbs, I'm totally with you. I think this guy's bad news. I want him to be the culprit, but what is the conspiracy you have in your head? Because
Yeah.
I don't really understand it fully. Um,
Yes.
like how everything ties together. But it turns out that, and maybe this is intentional that the pieces don't connect, is like it turns out, and I kind of hate that like Chief G calls Tibbs out on this. He's the one to do it, but like it is true. Tibbs is like he's like Chief G says to Tibbs, you're just like you're using your own bias to go after the wrong guy, and that's like coloring your ability to like see this investigation through to like the true culprit.
Yeah.
uh
And
and
I
Tibbs is
agree
like,
with you. It's a little I don't like that it was Chief G.
I wish like Tibbs was like, you know what, this actually doesn't make sense, and like maybe I need to like take a step back and like
Yeah.
review it myself, or like maybe if there was like a different character who just wasn't the racist guy, like the racist and sort of the racist end the of the coin, the racist side
Right.
of the coin in this movie.
Yes, he's racist, but also he's the guy who has the character change.
Yeah,
He's the guy who like, oh, because he's worked with this individual, now he has this newfound understanding, and now the world is a better place, and yada yada yada.
so let's get into the ending, right?
Okay.
Just like to sort of follow through on this thought of him changing or not. Like
Yeah.
why I think this movie a little bit gets like what I think this movie gets right, because it's again, I don't know if it's the first movie, but like it sort of seems to be setting up a lot of like the narrative tropes of like this type of movie where like a black and white character or just two characters at like different ends of a spectrum like learn from each other, like a Rain Man
Yeah.
or something, right?
Yeah.
This movie is almost like it feels like it's setting a template. Um, but I think why this movie works over like other kinds of movies like this is I don't think by the end Chief G is like any less racist. I think he respects Tibbs, but I don't think he's like a better guy.
I'm inclined to agree with you. Yeah, I don't know how true his I think the movie wants to show that he experienced true growth. I don't know if I buy it. Um, there's this scene where he defends him in that fight with those other guys, and they're like,
Yeah.
you can't keep defending this black guy. And he's like, I don't care. I'm going to defend him,
Yeah. But what's
which is
interesting about
good, but
yeah. I mean he saved Tibbs from being killed, which is net
right.
positive.
Right. And
But
that leads into your point. Like maybe like it's entirely possible that he just has respect for Tibbs and hasn't really changed overall.
also at the same time, like there is like I don't think the movie ever loses sight of the underlying thing of like Chief G kind of needs Tibbs, because Chief G,
Oh,
especially the first half of the
100%.
movie, has no idea what he's doing.
No, it's
He
comical how
arrests
little
like
he
three
knows.
different people who like have nothing to do with the murder.
No, and every time he's so confident, he's like, we don't need your fucking help. We got the guy." And it's like a baby or something. So like fucking
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, no, it's not this baby, Chief G.
We caught him with a knife, but it's like it doesn't
this
matter.
this baby had a binky and it had motive, so we got him. Like,
In a statement, he said "goo goo gaga." I don't know if that's not incriminating. I don't know what is.
he signed the fucking confession. He did it. He drooled all over it. That counts. That'll hold up in a court of law.
Yeah, so like I don't know how much like Chief G is changing more than he's just like, you know what? He like maybe his realization is not that like, oh, actually you know, we're not so different, you and I, but more like I need your help because I'm kind of an
Yeah.
idiot.
It's not as if he's thinking, "Oh, I like the direction that our community is evolving into." It's more like, "Man, that black fella sure could solve crimes," and then that's it. That's the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
That's what he learned.
Yeah. He becomes like I guess more tolerant but not like actually accepting or
Yeah,
something.
it's not totally convincing.
There's like the heart to heart right before like the big kind of finale climax, where Tibbs cracks the case and finds the murderer.
Yeah.
You think they're gonna connect, And like Tibbs starts to connect with Chief G because like they both basically come to the conclusion like, yeah, because of this job and like our lifestyle and just kind of how we are, we're sort of like lonely.
Yeah.
Like we're like kind of lonely guys and it kind of sucks. But like when Tibbs starts to suggest that they're the same in that way, Chief G's like, I'm not lonely. The fuck you talking about? Or whatever. He's like, oh, like we're not the same.
It's a lot of will they, won't they, weirdly enough, because like you don't
Yeah.
think they're gonna kiss, and you
Well,
maybe you want them to. I don't know. I don't know what your
no,
preferences
no.
are.
Tibbs can do way better.
This could do way better. But you're like, okay, this is the moment where they reconcile and become friends and show understanding. And then they just I don't
Doesn't
know.
happen.
It just doesn't happen. The movie feels the need to interject tension. And it's just maybe it's just not the formula I'm used to. Like it's always okay, here are these two people. They're strangers. Their ideals are conflicting. And then something happens, and then they become friends, and then something challenges that friendship. And then they become friends again in the end. That's like the
Yeah.
classic, it's the Shrek formula, basically.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't follow that. It's like they're
Yeah.
friends, they're not friends. They're friends, they're not friends the whole time.
Yeah. You get like weird narrative choices from like the first movie that establishes tropes that like later define a certain type of movie, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting because you're like, oh, this movie like I think you like you think you know, like this movie you think you know what it's gonna be, but then like it does something like a little bit to the left, and you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting, and I think is actually like it helps it in the long run of like this movie's legacy.
There are a lot of things in it that don't feel groundbreaking, and maybe they just are, and I've seen them in other ways. Like there's some Scooby-Doo ass bullshit where the way this resolves is kind of bananas, right? The way that they actually solve the case. They pull the classic, oh, remember a guy that you didn't think was important? Turns out he did the whole thing.
Yeah. See, but I also think the way he gets to that conclusion is a little bit clever because, like, he's like, there's like this weird subplot with one of the deputies of Chief G where, like, he gets like this, like, teenager pregnant, which I guess it's like these movies, whatever.
Well, there's that whole
Anyway,
scene
it's just
is
like
so
fucking
that whole
crazy.
setup is bizarre.
It like makes him think, like, oh, there must be a woman in town who, because, like, obviously, just because the law says you can't have an abortion, people are going to try and get an abortion if they want one. So there must be a woman who does it, and it leads him to what's her name, Mama Kaliba, played by B. Richards. But like basically, it's a whole like this guy who needed money, so he like to pay for like this girl's abortion who he had sex with. So like he killed this guy and stole his money, and that's like the wrap up. And you're like, oh, okay.
The guy who actually committed the murder that they're looking for the whole time, he just works in the diner. It's just some guy who works at the diner.
Yeah, and he has this funny bit where he always hides the pie from Warren Oates, who's plays Deputy Sam Wood.
He loves this bit too. As soon
Yeah.
as and it's so ridiculous to me because like, okay, I get it. He hates this cop and just hides the pie from him to fuck with him. But like they have nothing else in that diner. That's like it's like the only food that they have.
Yeah, is there somebody grilling or like what's going on? Is he
I
just
don't
behind the
know.
counter serving like drinks or
It doesn't look like it's popping at all. So maybe I don't know, sell a slice of pie
yeah.
if you can. Um. Anyway, he's a murderer.
What's interesting about the murder is like it winds up, Tibbs had this whole conspiracy at first, and then eventually he was like, this probably isn't the right direction to go in. And then it winds up being something like a little bit mundane.
Yeah, it's kind of loose potatoes. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It doesn't really feel impactful.
It's a bag of loose russets.
It really is a bunch of Yukons really loosely strung together.
I don't think this is a movie to really come to for like the mystery.
No.
I don't know if people really do. I think like it's become famous enough for like its depiction of like racial tension at the time.
Yeah.
That people are seeking it out for those reasons instead of like, oh, I hear this detective solves this really cool murder. Yeah, it's not really like that kind of movie.
Yeah, it's not. I kind of wish it was. Maybe that's
yeah, it would be cool if
that's
the
my
mystery was
bad.
like really good.
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes you hit a home run, sometimes you bunt a triple somehow.
It's because you're just fast as hell.
Yeah.
You know, there's a sequel to this movie.
There's like a bunch of movies.
There are a bunch of movies and also a show. They did a show.
I know Sidney Poitier does not reprise the role, unfortunately.
No, he doesn't host.
You have anything else to say about this movie?
Um,
Oh, can we quickly talk about because I moved past it a little bit quickly. When Endicott slaps Tibbs and Tibbs slaps Endicott right back.
pretty fucking sick.
It's so cool.
It's so instant. It's just like, and Endicott
like-
is so incensed. He's like, "Oh my god, I cannot believe it." It's so
He starts
it's
crying.
what a loser. It's so obviously hypocritical because like it's like they must have done this a bunch of times because it's crazy how Portier manages to it's the same exact velocity and amplitude of slap. Like it's not any notch more intense. It's not like he just
Right.
It's like this guy does it. He does a little.
Yeah. It's like tit for tat.
Yeah, it was perfect. And you're right.
He starts crying. He's like, Chief Chi, what are you gonna do about this? And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't know.
Buddy, you just fucking slapped a cop. I get you're like a racist piece of shit, but like you slapped him in the face. Of course he might slap you back.
I love that his response is to slap him back and not be like, I'm an officer of the law. I could take you in for questioning, blah, blah, blah. I just like that. It's just a little like instant justice, just done.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote down Endicott is such a baby.
Also, you're familiar with the series Over the Garden Wall?
Yeah, actually, me and my SO watched it recently
Oh,
for the first time. It's so good.
It's one of my favorite pieces of art ever.
So here's the thing. I thought it was great throughout. The last episode, like almost contextualized, like it put everything in context. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the most moving shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, dude.
This is like this is like one of the best stories about like growing up I've ever seen.
It truly is.
Yeah.
It's 10 episodes. It's an hour and a half. I don't know. Watch it. I guess this is the Oscar reader's endorsement to watch Over the Garden Wall.
Yeah.
Anyway, the character, Mr. Endicott, is it based on this dude? Endicott's the guy who has the giant manor, and he's got the gardens and all those plants.
Oh yeah, and isn't he like married to the woman, but he like forgets that she lives there or something?
He thinks there's a ghost in his house, but it turns out it's another incredibly rich woman, and their houses are so big that they just ended up merging together.
God, that's really funny.
Funny.
I could see it be. I mean, it's such a good rich guy name.
Yeah,
Endicott.
But it's funny because like he's got like this big almost plantation style home. I don't know. In the back of my head, I'm like, was Mr. Endicott from Over the Garden Wall?
Did you just watch In the Heat of while you were writing Over the Garden Wall? Did you happen to just like watch In the Heat of the Night on TV late at night?
Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe just like I like that name. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who's to say? This is the only podcast on the internet where you can get that fucking back-to-back comparisons between Over the Garden, Cartoon Network originals, and Oscar-winning pictures.
We're sort of intertextual magnates, for lack of a better word.
No, that was the word for sure. Tune in next week where we talk about Moby Dick and I don't know, fucking Chicken
Robot.
Robot. A compare and contrast.
Anything else to say about this dang ass flick?
No, I think it's worth watching for Sidney Poitier's performance. I think it's really good. I think he plays a really cool character. Probably the coolest we've gotten to discuss.
Yeah. And of course, the Academy, well, whatever. We'll get into it. Finish your thoughts. I apologize.
Yeah, good movie. I think I do think it's held back a bit by it didn't really have a ton of wow moments plot wise. But it's it's a pretty I think it's a bold depiction of race relations, especially in the landscape that it was released. Worthwhile watch.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if we talk enough about like viewing movies in their context. But like sometimes that's important to do because like obviously this movie listen, I mean, I can only say so much about if this movie's effective or not, an effective depiction of like race relations, but to me, it feels like it still has power.
It's really difficult for us to take ourselves out of our 21st century shoes and watch something from the 30s and try to relate to someone watching it. I'm just not going to do it. Like when I talk about these movies, I'm talking about like how much I enjoyed them. I have given my own personal history and tastes.
Yeah.
I can't speak to what Sally in 1935 thought about fucking you'd be on the bounty. I don't know. I can't attest to it.
Take off your Yeezuses and put on your Chuck Taylors, okay?
I don't
Get
know
yourself
Yeezus.
out of your 21st century ass sneaks and put on some 20th century sneaks.
Okay, fine, Mom.
My final thoughts is I think this movie's really good. And I think Sidney Poitier should have been nominated for Best Actor, but guess what? He fucking wasn't.
Whoa, not even nominated?
Not even nominated. Guess who
That's-
guess who was nominated in this movie and won over Sidney Poitier?
Oh, fucking Chief G?
Yeah. Rod Steiger was nominated and won Best Actor for this fucking shit.
Wait,
And like his
Best
performance
actor,
is fine.
actor? Not like supporting?
Best actor. Like he's
not
the lead
main
of the movie.
character. He is not the lead.
No.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm almost glad though. Like obviously I wanted Sidney Poitier to be nominated, but I'm kind of glad he like wasn't nominated for like supporting actor because like that would be like what a slap in the face that would be.
crazy.
Yeah.
But it's also crazy that he's not nominated.
Yeah, it's insane.
I don't even
His
get
performance
that.
is so much better than Rod Steiger's. No offense, Rod
Yeah,
Steiger.
Miles. I mean, I don't know. Rod Steiger's fine, but
Yeah, he's fine. He gets the job done.
yeah.
Nobody's quoting, I don't know, whatever shit he says.
Not saying we don't even know what he says.
I don't even
We
know.
can't
Also, fucking Paul Newman was nominated for Cool Hand Luke. If you're not nominating Sidney Poitier, why aren't you giving it to Paul Newman? Christ.
He's got fucking marinara.
Have you seen Cool Hand Luke?
No.
You should add it to your list because I think you'd like it. It's such a good movie.
That's the good one. Bug's Life.
Would you like to hear the Best Picture nominees for the year 1968?
Hold on one second.
God, what he buys the tiniest glasses. I don't even know where he finds these.
Now I'm ready.
Hey, Morpheus.
You mean Morbius?
Oh, I mean Morpheus.
The second worst Marvel movie ever made. Thanks, Madam Web. All right, hit me.
All right.
Fucking
Go. So obviously, shut up. Let me do it.
Speed up. This is taking forever.
I can't get a word in edgewise.
It's fucking stalling for some reason.
All right. In the Heat of the Night wins Best Picture, obviously.
Obviously.
Next up, we have Bonnie and Clyde, an Arthur Penn joint, starring Warren Beatty, Faye Dunaway. Gene Hackman's here, of course, because why would he be?
The immortal
contractually
Gene.
obligated. Have you ever seen Bonnie and Clyde?
That's when they drive off the cliff?
That's Thelma and Louise.
Okay, then no, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen either, to be clear.
I haven't seen Thelma and Louise. I have to watch that one. But Bonnie and Clyde I only saw once. It was like when I first started getting really into movies when I was like probably like 12 or 13. I was like, oh, what are like classics? I was sort of like instantly drawn to like these like 60s, 70s sort of new Hollywood movies. And Bonnie and Clyde's like one of the earliest of this movement of like these sort of like violent, more realistic, sort of experimental, weird movies that people are making. It's not that weird. It's actually pretty by the numbers from what I remember, but it is very violent for the time.
Is this the original depiction of Bonnie and Clyde? Of the Bonnie and Clyde story?
I think so. Yeah.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when people talk about Bonnie and Clyde, like this is it. It's not a remake or
no. Yeah.
adaptation.
I'm pretty sure this would be the one. I think didn't like Sebastian Stan do a Bonnie and Clyde like 10 years ago? I feel like there was another like mini series version or something like in the last 10 years.
Everyone's doing a mini series these days.
Yeah.
Titanic 2? Yeah. Enjoy the Titanic mini series. How about that? from the point of view of the iceberg.
I recently, what was I reading? I was reading a book of short stories recently that actually like there's a character in the story that's like the narrator or something mentions like this character is writing a novel from the point of view of the iceberg that the Titanic hit. So that's kind of weird that you said that.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it's a really Kelly Link's Magic for Beginners, a great book.
I like that.
All right, yeah, Bonnie and Clyde's good. I don't think it's as good as in the Heat of the Night.
Fuck it.
Next up, we have, you probably haven't heard of this one.
Try me.
Dr. Dolittle, directed by Richard Fleischer.
The Murph. Eddie.
Or Robert Downey or RDJ.
What? Oh, right. I forgot about
Everybody
that.
forgets that that's like the big movie he made after Iron Man was, spoilers, killed. That was like his big, like, all right, let me finally do my passion project. And it was Dr. Dolittle, and it made $0.00.
I respect that so much, though. He's just said, I got to do anything else. And it was Dr. Dolittle, and more power to you. And now he's the best supporting actor.
So obviously, Dr. Dolittle, it's a pretty simple premise. It's a veterinarian who could communicate with animals as he travels the world. And as he travels abroad to search for a giant sea snail.
You're thinking of the Nutty Professor.
You're thinking of fucking Norbert.
Yeah.
Norbit?
Yeah.
Norbit, yeah.
I'm thinking of 1,000 Words. You ever see that movie?
No, what's that? Is that Eddie Murphy?
Yeah, and every time he speaks, a leaf falls off of some tree, and if he speaks 1,000 words, he can't speak forever.
Oh.
It was one of the worst things I've ever seen, and I was like 12 when I watched it, and I'm like, this ain't it.
I was trying to figure out, I was like, is that a good premise or is that a bad premise? I can't figure it out.
I think that was the movie that sent him into hiding for a while.
Poor Eddie. The movie's 2.5 hours long. I'm never gonna watch it.
You've seen Avatar too.
I was gonna defend myself, but you're absolutely right.
Listen, and I don't blame you.
I shouldn't dismiss stuff that's long because I have watched Avatar 2.
Killers of the Flower Moon was 8.5 hours long.
I watched fucking Gene Dealman, the Chantal Ackerman movie, and it's 3.5 hours of like a woman making like chicken cutlets, and it's really fucking incredible.
What is that? You said it's incredible?
I logged it on Letterboxd at one point, and you were like, what's this movie? You're like, I'm gonna watch this.
Okay. Yeah. I do know what you're talking about, and I do want to watch that.
Yeah, it's just like her like washing dishes and like buying groceries, and it's like fucking incredible.
Okay. This is my reminder.
Next up, this one's for you, Mr. Anderson, because that's right. The next nominee is The Graduate, directed by Mike Nichols.
Oh, I thought the movie was called Mr. Anderson.
No, I was. Let me explain. Let me explain the bit.
Do your thing.
So The Graduate, Mike Nichols, a very famous movie starring Dustin Hoffman as a recent college graduate who's worried about the future and falls into a love triangle with a girl and her mother, none other than Mrs. Robinson. Ding, 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 ding.
And his ding.
I called you Mr. Anderson because it was like,
I don't know.
Because Simon Garfunkel did the soundtrack for The Graduate. Yeah.
Don't know why I didn't put that together.
That's
cool.
Fine. It was sort of a really weird way to the joke. So,
did Mrs. Robinson win Best Song?
If it didn't, that's crazy.
That's crazy, but also that's like, it's not really. I don't think it's in my top 10 Simon and Garf songs.
No, it didn't. It wasn't even nominated. Like the any of the songs in The Graduate.
I'm sure Paul's not losing sleep over it.
I don't know. I saw an interview with him and he's pissed. He said $15 for a sub at the deli. You crazy? And then he went off about his snub.
Paul, we asked you about your charity.
He's like, living in the city, can't even afford it anymore.
This place has changed.
I've only seen it once and like I thought it was good. I didn't like. It's not like a favorite or anything, but
I would say. I always get confused with Mrs. Doubtfire.
Why?
I don't know. You tell me.
I get the misses. That's it.
Robin Williams is in both.
Not true.
Okay. Well, Dustin Hoffman's in Wow.
Neither.
Okay. I guess I'll just go fuck myself then. I don't know.
All right. And finally, I think I have seen this movie. Last, but certainly not least. Guess who's coming to dinner? Guess.
Charlize Theron. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously.
She's so charming.
This is a Stanley Kramer movie. Also stars Sidney Poitier.
Oh, what?
This white woman brings Sidney Poitier home to meet her family, and they don't know that the guy is black. And it's like, oh. And then by the end, the family, I'm sure, has become more understanding or some shit. I remember seeing it. It's like, I don't know. It's okay.
Now, don't get mad, but I confused this movie with Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
That doesn't make any sense. I don't know why you said get mad. I'm not like hot to.
You're
I'm not like
pissed,
quick.
and you need to cool off. You gotta cool off, dude. You gotta. You're up here. I need you here. Okay.
I'm not. I like have to piss. I guess I've sort of been mainlining schnapps since we started, but
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just saw a poster of it once, and I think the tagline on the poster said, "Guess who's." No, I don't know.
Are you thinking of Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
I'm always thinking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
See, this is weirdly in my memory one of those movies that at the time was probably like, oh my god, this is like really addressing the issues directly, and like, but like it doesn't really. And 60 years later, it's like, I don't know.
It's like,
I don't know if this thing really has any juice anymore.
No juice.
But those are the nominees.
Okay.
Do you think In the Heat of the Night is Best Picture worthy?
I would give it an Oscar. Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
That should be on the fucking DVD.
Yes, I
Watch
would
it.
Yes,
why not?
This is Best Picture worthy.
I agree. I think it's a great film,
Awesome.
and I highly recommend it. I think it's well worth a watch.
So it's funny you mentioned that because, yeah, we got some reviews from people on the internet. We want to see what the people had to say. I'm going sunglasses off because I need to read my screen.
And these aren't prescription.
And I can't see at all. We found some reviews from people on the internet about this particular film, the film that we reviewed today and discussed. You were here, you remember. Want to hear some reviews? Want to hear what the people have to say about this thing?
Yeah, go for it, man.
So now, in the interest of anonymity, give me the name of somebody who had a Buzz Lightyear toy when they were a kid, but lost it, and just found it as an adult.
Andy Koufax.
Andy Koufax says.
Do you think do you think that's Andy from Toy Story's name?
Koufax?
Yeah.
No, I think do they say their last name?
I don't think so that I can remember.
I almost want to say you're thinking of Stanley Koufax from
Isn't he a baseball
Budapest Hotel?
Isn't there a baseball player named like Stanley Koufax, or am I crazy?
This is not. Listen, this is a movie. This is a movie show. Okay, I don't know.
Fine.
I don't know nothing about no baseball. Andy Koufax says, yeah, 1.5 star. Strange film. At points, it seems really modern, but mostly it seems like a shit old TV show. And the acting's just awful, especially Poitier, who's completely wooded.
No, Sidney Poitier is so good in this movie. He definitely like speaks in a certain way. He has like a very distinct like voice. So like maybe like just the tenor of that voice like comes across to people as like stiff. I don't know.
I love the way that he speaks words.
Yes. He's got such a cool voice.
Give me the name of somebody who spent all their money on a popsicle stick manufacturing plant.
Mary Welchman.
Mary Welchman says 2 stars. This did everything I thought it would do at the level I thought it would do at exactly. So awesome, so classic. Portier broke so many barriers. What a fucking hero.
Nice.
Oh. This is a 2-star review, though.
The fuck? Letterboxd doesn't make. I feel like people don't know how to use Letterboxd.
People are making. Well, maybe there's some sort of like scale of 1 to 2 ratio that I'm not familiar with. Is this like the German ratio or something? I don't know.
Just do it by 5 stars.
I don't know.
Thanks for those reviews.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you were watching, if you're not watching,
we can't thank you.
Go for this. Next week we're talking Amadeus.
Wow.
1980.
Amadeus.
Yeah. 1985, 86 84 best picture winner. I think maybe 84. Yeah, I've never seen it. It's like 3 hours long, and I hear it fucking is weird and fun. So hopefully,
Maestro
that'll be good.
one, as they say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Good Maestro.
The good maestro.
That's the name of my fucking autobiography.
The good maestro. You with a little baton. I love it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So tune in then. In the meantime, eat broccoli. You've been eating too many hot dogs, and honestly, your cholesterol is through the roof,
Skyrocketing.
So enjoy that broccoli.
Okay.
See you next week, folks.
1, 2, 3, 4. These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that microwave shit. They want the shit that bops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners.
The Zoom's gonna end in like 5, 4,
4,
3,
3,
2,
2. I don't know.
1.
1. 0.
Yeah.
Fuck.